multilateral approach to achieve SDG by 2030, empowering women, enabling peace, and fostering sustainable development by accelerating gender equality. We have our first panelist this afternoon. And one of the things I want to mention is the fact that in the pursuit of sustainable development goals, we recognize that a multilateral approach is not only essential, but it's imperative. The interconnectedness of our global challenges demands collaborative efforts, shared knowledge, and unwavering determination. At the African Women's Health Project International, we believe that the work for humanity is a collective effort of many, many incredible minds that are to serve humanity. We believe in empowering women, and in empowering women lies at the heart of our mission. When women thrive, communities flourish. When women are equal partners in decision-making, peace prevails. And when women's health and well-being are prioritized, sustainable development becomes a reality. Today, we gather to explore innovative strategies, celebrate progress, and address persistent gaps. We must accelerate our pace, for the clock is ticking towards 2030. Let us harness the power of our collective action and amplify women's voices and create pathway for change. And it gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce our first panelist this afternoon. First on our panel is a woman that I admire so greatly, because not only does she talk the walk, but she walks the walk and talk the talk. She's none other than Dr. Gapsin, who is an accomplished author, distinguished social entrepreneur, and celebrated business strategist. Woo! She was just conferred on the honors of a UN Ambassador for Peace, and is just really, and she is the visionary behind Minnie's Food Pantry, which was established in 2008, and to honor our late mother, Dr. Minnie Houghton Herring. Dr. Gapsin has made an extraordinary impact, providing over 27 million meals to those in need. And I was a partaker of seeing her in action just this past Thanksgiving, where she was able to feed thousands and thousands and thousands of families. Her work speaks for itself. She's appeared on Oprah Winfrey, she's with all the biggies that you can think of in this world. She's with Forbes magazine. They feature her all the time. She's done amazing work. She's appeared with Mark Cuban, Martha Stewart, Emmett Smith, Tyler Perry, and the list goes on. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Dr. Charles Gapsin. Next we have Dr. Carolyn Parker. Miss Carolyn Parker, she's a former faculty at the University of Texas. She's done amazing work all around the world, and really, in fostering and promoting women empowerment and gender equality. And it's just a great pleasure to have you join us on this panel. Next, I'll have Ms. Liz Singer, who is the president of the New York Society of Ethical Culture, doing amazing work, not only just here in New York, but all around the globe, with the work that she's doing on women empowerment and gender equality. And last but not the least, we have Manju Kar, who is the convener, Peace Commission, Secretary General of All Indian Women's Conference. Yeah. Miss Manju? Yeah. Oh, yes, okay. and Miss Manju came, not only just by herself, but she came with a whole army of really amazing women from India that came over here. Please give them a round of applause. And one of the things, before we start with the question on the panel, I want to, there's a video recording of one of our delegates from Congo. She's none other than Miss Nake Buka Winnie Mwafizi. She's a graduate in Management Economic Science from the University of Sepromat in the province of South Kivu, Democratic Republic of Congo, and holds a postgraduate degree in Community Management of HIV/AIDS from Galilee Institute in Israel. She's a development officer and human rights activist, and we're just honored to have you over here. And she's joining us on Zoom right now, so I'll just give her a few minutes for her to just give her opening remarks. And of course, you know, in Congo, it is French speaking. So, anybody parlez-vous français here? Okay. We're having some. S'il vous plaît. Bonjour. Can you please go ahead?
Hello. Écoutez.
We can carry on. So, ladies, so let's go ahead and just really dive into the conversations. Now, the theme of our panel.
She's talking.
Can you bring the mic over there?
We have somebody translating here. I think it's translating there as we speak. Have somebody to finish the translation.
You need to share the sound. Yeah. The sound is not there. We can continue with we will share the recording with the participants later and continue with the.
Yeah, we share. Yeah, I think that's best. Yeah. And then we can actually come back to this maybe afterwards. So let's go ahead and go on, and then we'll come back to her.
Well, she's talking now. Yeah.
We understand, but we can't understand.
She might.
It's interpreted if you want to sit over here and read it.
Yeah.
I can read it out loud. Okay, so the theme for our discussion is actually finding leadership solutions to global goals challenges by peace dialogue. So this whole panel is talking about leadership and about peace. Now, Dr. Cheryl Jackson, I want to start with you over here and say, how can peace dialogues be effectively integrated into leadership strategies to address global challenges related to gender equality.
I'm hearing her and you, and I'm so sorry. Go ahead again. I'm hearing both of you, so.
Just pass the mic.
One of the things I know is that for years, you've been working on the SDG goals, maybe even without even realizing it, but you've literally been really from 1 all the way up to 17. Now, and I know that your strength lies in all of them, but most especially SDG Goal 2, which is the zero hunger, and you do a lot of collective partnership, which is in SDG 17. So how do you think that we for leadership strategies that we can use to actually address, what leadership strategies do you think we can use to address these global challenges related to gender equality and poverty?
I think it's what you just said. It's us all collectively coming together. When I started my nonprofit 16 years ago, it'll be April the 1st, I started literally with just 2 cans of corn and people laughing at me. But I used to be homeless myself, and people said there was nobody hungry or homeless, but it was me trying to feed my own 2 children. And I think through using media, I started writing for media, and I was doing different things on our local news, and then at the end I would talk about hunger. So I would kind of slide it in there, if you will, right? But then the more I began to talk and the more I began to demand a voice and talk to other women who were behind the scenes, not able to feed their own children, I think that's how the word got out. And so the first thing I would say is that all of us as women and female, we need to be transparent with each other. We live such a life we're all fast-paced and fast-going, and we all want everybody to know that we're all great, when in essence we need help. I don't know what you need help with, but for me it was something as simple as a meal. And because I needed that help, that's why I was so passionate about helping other women in the same scenario that I was in. And so now 16 years later, we provided 27 million meals and we have 14 locations. But it came, and I have one actually at the Bronx, New York Regional High School, Bronx High School right here in New York City. But it came from me really collaborating with other women, saying it's okay not to be okay, and then sharing stories and saying, how can we win together? And the only way that we're gonna resolve hunger and all these other initiatives is literally if we come together and not, for instance, I could have started I wanted to help other people, but the other organizations really didn't want me to come in and help. They had it, right? My light was shining a lot. So don't be offended if someone comes to you and their light is shining just a little bit brighter than yours. Come on and let that spotlight come into you so that they can really talk about who you are and what you do. And because they wouldn't allow me to help them, that's why I started my own. But I will tell you, you don't have to start your own organization. You can just partner with someone that you see doing what you love, doing it great. Then you say, how can I lend a helping hand? And that's what it's going to be about. All of us working collectively together and not competing against each other. That's the key to my success.
Well, so well said. And one of the things that just really resonates is the fact that, you know, it takes a collective effort in order to be able to achieve all the greatness that you have achieved, you know, just being all over everywhere. Now, moving on to Ms. Carolyn Parker, as a professor at the university. Now, what approach do you think that leaders can adopt to ensure that gender equality and poverty eradication is achieved? What do you think? What are some of the steps? And you know, just speaking just from your experience.
My experience. Well, I'm out of academia for some years, but I haven't lost the academic orientation. If we're looking for gender equality, and I suppose the elimination of poverty might be in there, but my orientation is by and large to peace and wanting to build a culture of peace. My orientation makes me look at life. My orientation makes me look at how we talk to each other, the kinds of words that we use. I had prepared to talk today about some instances of this in English, but I think all of us live in a world where we speak to each other with images and analogies and similes, and sometimes we use words that are words of power. Sometimes there are words of violence. When we talk about the kind of strategy that we want to pursue in a meeting, the kind of way that we want to approach someone with whom we disagree. We might use language and say, we're going to use a scorched earth policy on this. Well, that's a pretty dramatic way to be conducting war. It's pretty awful. It's death. It's starvation. It's so much harm to so many people. And if you use that kind of analogy, it may be that you think that that's acceptable as a tactic of war. And if you think it's acceptable as a tactic of war, perhaps it changes how you're looking at the person that you're opposing, the person you disagree with, the person, well, maybe you're just competing with a little bit. Still, at that point, they become less than human. They become an enemy, someone that you perhaps could do some harm, some real harm to, whether it's psychological harm with just harsh words. It can also lead to the temptation for physical harm, or some other way to harm their ability to maintain a livelihood, feed their children, live their lives without fear of harm. My approach is pretty academic, and it sounds very much like weak tea, but I actually have considerable calls to action. There are quite a few things that we can do to see something and then say something. When we see this kind of language, these aggressions, microaggressions maybe, but microaggressions hurt. They're painful. To find a way to say, you know, can we find a better word for that? Can we find, let's make sure that we are staying on track. Okay, that's a good one, on track. Let's stay together and work together on this as partners, not as enemies. So when we look at gender equality, I'm speaking specifically to target 5.2 on SDG 5. We're looking for a way to protect women from violence, but also to build the culture of peace.
So well said. As a matter of fact, you know, and what you're saying actually ties into what Dr. Cheryl was mentioning also too, about the idea of, you know, collaboration, doing things together, as opposed to looking at somebody and, not necessarily even recognizing the commonalities between, instead of pushing it away. And that's the only way we're going to be able to achieve the peace that we're talking about. Thank you so much for that. So, Ms. Lee Singer, as president of the New York Society for Ethical Cultures, what are some of the mechanisms you think can be harnessed to promote human rights and empower women and girls? And just speak on it from your experience, you know, as an academia, and as, you know, as somebody that's actually done a lot of this work for years.
So, the New York Society for Ethical Culture is a 150-year-old institution, and the New York Society is on the corner of 64th and Central Park West. So, I as president, am extremely proud of many of our initiatives, but what I'm most proud about is that we take action and we walk the walk. Walking the walk, and the thing that I know most, and we put it into play, is women's passion and taking initiative to make things happen is amazing. And if you give them the authority to initiate these things, they will achieve it. And if all of us can do just a small thing, we will change the world. We had a project this year to a couple of members with contacts to move five Afghan girls who were in the educational system and were no longer able to get an education. And through contacts, we were able to move all 5 of them to New York City, get them scholarships here in New York, free scholarships, and to give them housing. So they made it, they had to come by themselves, we could not chaperone them, and they are all here, and they are getting an education. They're musicians, artists, and they will make a difference because we made a difference. So if all of us can help one person, 5 people, we will change it. So that's my experience and my passion, is to enable. If I'm in a position to enable other people's passion, I will support it.
Thank you so much. The conversations around leadership and around the collective work of women moving towards peace, to actually bring peace into this world. And that's one of the things that's just really, we know that, when women are empowered, women actually are natural at being able to foster peace, even negotiations and things like that. And you can see that even when big corporations and even countries, sometimes like this, if a job is too hard for the man, you definitely send a woman. So now, which now brings me, I know that we have a young lady from Democratic Republic of Congo, and we're going to be getting her next, right after Ms. Manju Kark. Ms. Manju Kark is the convener Peace Commission. She's the Secretary General of All Indian Women's Conference. And she's been doing some amazing work all over India, not only all India, but also to over here, even with the people from India background. So I want to tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, that especially things that you're doing specifically with the SDG goals, in order to be able to bring foster peace and really create more leaders among the women.
Thank you so much. I am here as the convener of the Peace of the International Alliance of Women, which is the partner to the event. And on that level, we work internationally on the goals that the Princess has spoken. But in India, particularly, which I want to just mention a few words, is that in COVID times, in specific, if I'm to be specific, we created about 24 workshops all over the country to foster the goal 5 that we are talking about and goal 16 of the SDGs. And that was a very fragile moment, not just for us in India, but all over the world. But why I mentioned India in particular, and perhaps the United States, is that we share one thing in common, and that is the challenge of diversity. When we speak of diversity in India, we are speaking of diverse religions as well. And we have a term in India which is commonly bantered about, and it's called communal harmony. Communal harmony is something we refer to as tensions between the Islamic communities, the Hindu communities, the Sikh communities, and various other religious communities that are often at the brink of endangering our peace, because in conditions that happened in COVID times, everyone felt fragile, not only on the economic front, but on the social front, and as well as a sense of acceptance. In India, traditionally, we also have something called, a lot of social taboos with regard to touch. There are caste systems where certain castes do not touch other castes. A whole lot of other things came into play during those health conditions which were exacerbated due to the fact that touch was also something that was spreading the disease. So there were all kinds of challenges at every level. My organization in India, the All India Women's Conference, works with 100,000 women and with 500 chapters all over the country. We are 97 years old. We jumped into the fray, and at that fragile point in our social and health history of the world, we were at the forefront to see that exchanges were taking place on commonalities of heritage, commonalities of culture, commonalities of education that my co-panelists have mentioned, to see that people were bonded on things that they agreed upon and which they held dear to themselves. The challenge of today, the 21st, 22nd century, will be diversity and acceptance of diversity, which are right-wing governments, which are now being nurtured all over the world, are using economic insecurity, health insecurity, other fragilities in the vote bank and changes and shifts in culture to actually create that sense that it is better to believe in separateness than to believe in togetherness. And that is one thing that I, in a very small way, my organizations, the International Alliance of Women, as well as All India Women's Conference, in a much larger network way, are promoting and pushing for. At my age, I can tell you, I was trying to be recruited once for a political party that believed in absolute right-wing causes. I'm a Brahmin and a Hindu, which is like, the holiest cow that you can imagine in India. And so there was no earthly reason why a Brahmin and a Hindu and an upper caste woman would not be attracted to that. But on the other hand, I'm a writer of not just fiction, non-fiction. I'm also an art historian, besides having spent 25 years in the women's movement. And I said, you answer me one question. That is, how can I, as an artist, believe in a less than perfect world and still continue to create? And if I do believe that I can create, I am here for the pursuit of perfection. Otherwise, as Browning said, we don't believe in a God. The poet Robert Browning? Or what's heaven for, if we don't believe that there's perfection around the corner? So I hope I haven't taken too much time, Madam Princess.
Very well said. Thank you so much for that. And we know that during COVID definitely set back the times, considering the progress that we've had, especially when we're talking about women equality, when we talk about gender equality. COVID definitely did a big dip in there, and we're coming back, from it. So we're still recovering, and so I'm glad that the work that you're doing resonates all around. And at this time, I'd like to give a few minutes for a couple of minutes for young lady, Miss Mtakeba. And I will do the translation. So as she speaks, and since we have translation, I will. Is she ready for us?
I hope so. This is to say bon encore. Really? Vous n'écoutez pas?
The French language is one that is just so beautiful that no matter which way it's spoken, it's just beautiful. It sounds beautiful. We are? So she said, good evening. So here's, she's speaking here. She said, I am saying that I'm going to try and brush up a little bit on the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The current context of the war
Yes, really.
breaking.
Vous écoutez.
Thank you. So as we know, the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of crisis going on right now over there. So I think that is one of the things she's mentioning. And is she in the medical field? Because I saw her wearing a mask. Yes.
The goals of 2030 are a global call to action, eradicate poverty, protect. Sustainable development, societal goals aim to boost economic development to promote sustainability. Social economics provision, effort coordinated at all levels of society, multi-sectoral interaction. And our options have deteriorated, okay? I was bad. Prevention, reaching, interaction should attract the attention of every stakeholder because we are dependent on each other. Our options have deteriorated. I don't know. Our democratic republic. He made it to human, and then he would talk. But I'm going on. In fact, empowering women, it's about empowering women, promoting peace, and accelerating gender equality. Our talk today allows accelerating gender equality, allows us to contribute to thinking in ways in which we can contribute to achieving these goals and the benefits that they will bring to our country and the Great Lakes region. Oh yeah, Andrew X. Key, women's empowerment. The importance of empowering and achieving. Women's empowerment is critical to unlocking the economic potential, providing equality to education, to the labor market, education, jobs, prosperity. There, they can lose women, the forced, the resilience, and despite their status, the victims are armed in conflict. And even beyond our borders, for cross-border trade or informal. Women's empowerment is a pledge. It is a surety, guaranteed to be guaranteed. Active participation. Making progress and decision making. And that leads to a more diverse and inclusive policies so women can contribute to solving social and political problems in a holistic way. As long as their economic situations improve and in total secure. So peace is a major prerequisite for reaching and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. And as we finish up over here, I'm just going to pass this mic around. I just need just one statement to just answer this. Given all that we've heard today, and given the urgency of accelerated progress, how can institutions and decision makers collaborate to lift both women and men out of poverty and foster a just and sustainable economic development worldwide? Your take. One statement.
Go ahead. You can do it by working together. It's that simple. If we all work together, we will be successful.
think that covers it, working together with respect for each other, working together with compassion for the situation in which the other person finds themselves, walking a little bit in someone else's shoes to make sure that we understand each other a little bit better.
I would like to add to that, let's not just talk, let's walk and make sure that together we can really change things. I've seen it happen over and over again.
I think we need to cut down on military spending and divert some of that economy to the care economy, focus on less of a profit-driven economy and more on a care economy that respects especially the work of women who are the primary caregivers in a lot of situations all over the world.
Thank you so much, my panelists. What I heard is collaboration, respect, passion, walk in someone's shoe, that's empathy, action. We need to take actions, and of course, make sure that we properly build a woman economic development, divert into a care economy. Thank you all so much for the panel. You all have been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody, for pictures. We have, and after the session, we have extra 15 to 20 minutes to have pictures and a networking session. Thank you so much for the beautiful panel. And as we all see, that we were having troubles in uploading the video and using the technology in the hall, that leads to our next session, that is digitization can narrow the gap in access to healthcare and women economic empowerment, health equity and gender. Can you please evacuate the front space so we can start calling our next speakers? The first, I would like to invite our speaker. She is a TEDx speaker, coach, and best-selling NY Times author, survivor of brain injury and breast cancer. That is the leading cause of cancer among the women here. We all have to stay till the end because we'll be having pictures for her next book, that is with the birthdays. Because she's the best-selling author, so we want to be in her book, of course. Mine is 23rd October. I'll be on the October page, and each one of you will be photographed here so she can have her next book. Please welcome on stage Dr. Michelle Moras. The second speaker I would like to call is Miss Patricia Oliver. Is she here in the hall? Miss Patricia Oliver is the president of Poise and Perfection Imaging. I need to talk to her after the event for my personal consideration. We also have in the hall founder and CEO of the Legacy Premier Foundation, adjunct professor of finance at Bowie State University, beautifully dressed Dr. Remy Dural. He's a former senior special advisor to the Governor International Relations and Diaspora Affairs for the Ondo State government in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us here. Last but not the least, Dr. Serrano, she is in the hall. Dr. Serrano is President and CEO of Covenant 911 Health and Relationship Expert. She's having a beautiful tiara like a princess. Of course, we all females are princess. But because she's a relationship expert, we need guidance from her in the last. Digital transformation is rapidly changing and the world and how we conduct businesses and how we work in our daily routines. And because we have experienced less women leadership among AI, technology, digital transformation, medical industry. According to a research, only 5.5% of females have a commercial patent inside the United States. That makes hardly 12% of the entire population. So I would not waste further time because we are already running 10 minutes short of this session. I will just pass on the mic with one question first. That is how digitalization may affect the future working condition of women in healthcare. So I would go with Dr. Michelle Moras first, and then we can pass on the mic to each of our speakers to save time. Thank you so much.
I have to stand up, I'm a professional speaker. I have difficulty sitting and talking. But I would approach this in a different way with digitization. Because as a cancer survivor and a breast cancer survivor and a traumatic brain injury survivor, digitization scares me. And the reason it scares me is because when I was sick, if I was answering a doctor, I wouldn't have gotten what I needed. Because the first thing they saw as a woman saying, there's something wrong, I can't remember, they went, here's a pill, go away. When I had my breast cancer, I said, something's wrong, I feel really sick. If I had typed, I feel sick, they would have said, take a pill, go away. But that's why digitization scares me so much, because the only reason I'm alive today is because I got face to face with someone and said, look at me, I'm sick, I need help. And I am a very well-spoken, highly educated, strong-willed woman. Digitization in the medical field, as your question was, getting into it, I would say it opens doors for more possibilities. But I beg the world to not go fully digital. Do not go AI, because without the human interaction, so many of us would not be surviving the things we do survive today.
That was great. I have twofold with that. My husband was, man diagnosed him with a blood disease that there was no cure for. And we found this out because he was, had something on his back. And by the time we get to the emergency room, not only did they say he had multiple myeloma, but he was dealing with renal failure. So, but 9 days later, he was back out working, never missed a day. But the digitalization helps me because he works, and it allows us to come home and deal with the medical doctors by digitalization, which allows him the freedom to not have to do it at work. It also has helped me with the information, because digitally I can go in and I research, and of course we have to be careful about all the things that we research. But I do agree on the human piece. But for me, as an active businesswoman, entrepreneurship, the digital helps me, because even if I'm in New York and he's at home, we can all get on the monitor and talk with the doctor. So I totally agree when you say that we have to find a balance. But for me, the empowerment of the education that comes behind the digital part, the flexibility that allows me to be there with my husband. So we agree.
Yeah.
Clearly in agreement. Digitalization is an enabler, it's an enhancer, it is saving time, it's enabling us to use our time judiciously, it is enabling us to have more transparencies in all that we do, because AI is there. I'm a professor. AI is there, but AI is as a result of what man put in. All of those things that pops up when AI speaks is because somebody like you and I put something. And I always say, peradventure, garbage was in, garbage will be out. So at this juncture, what we have as knowledgeable professionals will always supersede technology. Yes. But technology is simply an enabler, an enhancer, and we should not be afraid of it. As a matter of fact, it is our friend, young, old, and indifferent. Technology is here to stay. It's allowing some wonderful people to join us from all over the world. In the past, they would have had to be physically here. So technology is here to stay. And I encourage all of us, those who are listening to us now, or those who are right here in our presence, to embrace technology, figure how to make it work. And there are ways to do it. And as women, we need to have enabling ways for women to really, really be interested in technology, so that we're not afraid of it, because it's an enhancer, it's an enabler, and it works all the time when we work it. Thank you.
Well said.
Wow. So here we are, in the midst of each other's presence once again. A place that we weren't expecting to be based on what things look like. Digitization helps us to be able to be present where we can duplicate and multiply ourselves in places and times and spaces that we ordinarily would not have been able to do. As a relationship expert and a communicator, I totally agree with our panel today in the sense that we have to be mindful that we put things in perspective. And I believe in a world where everything is digital. It is a wonderful thing, but at the same time, we have to keep it in perspective. Why do you say that? Because I am the one that sit at the table with husbands and wives and couples and families that are still estranged from each other because they're no longer having those conversations at the table. There's no longer that personalization. There's no longer that touch, that hug, that feel. I'm a big hugger. So when pandemic hit, that stunned my growth, to say the least. So yes, we need digitalization. But remember, more than that, we need each other. Do not forget the assembly of yourselves together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I also agree with her that digitization actually is important for the physical body, but we need each other for the mental health and for well-being and for taking care of each other. I also have a personal story that my dad was diagnosed with a colon cancer last stage after his colonoscopy was done. And we were not sure what will happen. And my mom took a 2-week time from the doctor. We were like, this is not going to happen. He was losing his health all of a sudden. And after 2 weeks, he was all well, fine, back on his feet, working, running. And we realized he was eating the black cumin seeds a lot to just lose weight and look smart. And so the doctor used a wrong technology on him. And doctor predicted wrong thing. And he's still alive, he's still healthy, he's still dating people. So, so the thing is that digitalization is important to access of healthcare, for females to be a part of it, to save time, to improve efficiency in your field. But as of course we said that physical interactions must not be lessened during that digitization program. We were talking about care in the last panel, that we need compassion, we need care among the people. And that leads me to my next question, that we are saying that during the COVID time, we have reversed in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal. Instead of going forward, instead of moving forward, we are going in the reverse. And during the COVID time, all of the care responsibility was fallen on the shoulders of the females in the house. We were having double the work, the domestic care work we were doing. We were taking care of the work from home offices, we were taking care of the children, and the work got doubled. So how do you see that we can close the gender gap again after the COVID? We can start working on gender gap, and we can reduce the effectiveness and the causes that has created the gap after the COVID. Starting from you, Dr. Michelle.
I'm still trying to understand the question.
Me too.
The thing is that after COVID, so many of the responsibilities have come on the shoulders of the females, and they are lacking behind in the financial jobs, and they are back. And due to that, we are also reversing, like domestic abuse cases increased during the COVID time. Mental health affected in the COVID time. Females were abused during the COVID time because, again, we were not having physical interactions during the COVID time. And we were not going out, we were not talking to people. So it increases that gender gap, you can say, all the negativities in the gender gap were dominating the positive side. And that's how we are reversing the SDGs. We are not going forward, we are going backward according to the UN report. So how we can close the gender gap?
That's a really
It
difficult
is.
question.
That is.
Yeah, I'm going to go from a personal perspective. I have to stand up again, okay? I would say from a personal point of view, during COVID, yes, things happened, there was a heck of a lot more abuse, but it goes back to what we said. Digitization is really great, but we still need the human touch. And so when people were being locked up and the women had the increase of the stressors of the household because we never got a break, and then we're still working, and then we're still taking care of everything else, it actually, I think, enlightened a lot of women to realize how much we were doing. It made us realize that, wait a minute, I'm the cook, the baker, the candlestick maker, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Wait, I've got 5 other people in my family. Why aren't you doing something? That's what happened in my household. So, and that's when I realized, wait a minute, I'm traveling the world as a speaker. I've been writing books, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm coming home, doing the dishes, mopping the floors, doing the laundry. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the one who's been gone for 2 weeks. What have you been doing? And so when COVID happened, I went, wait a minute, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job, we're gonna divide this. So instead of the gap happening in my household, I narrowed the gap because I realized that I was a yes mom. And so it was an aha for me to realize that my family, I was babying them. I was babying full-out adults. And so my personal experience was, you guys are all working with this. So I would say with the people I was working with online, the students I was working with, I did see a lot of stress. I work with the University in India, and a lot of the children, a lot of the women were under duress because they had no space to get away because they were locked in their house with all of their family. And the only thing I saw with that was it encouraged a lot of those young women to say, I'm going to finish this engineering degree and I'm going to get out of here. And so I saw it push people forward, not make a gap. So I can't wait to hear the rest of you because I saw a decrease, but the report says it's an increase. It's very interesting.
Okay, it's funny that they have us next together because mine is on the other side again. Yeah, mine is personal too. I truly enjoyed being there for my husband. I truly enjoyed being that added valued person for my husband because my husband was always the strength in our family. So an added valued person is something that I've always been. The downside to that, now I'm back on your side, is that most people say, I'm so glad I don't look like what I'm going through. My t-shirt said, I look exactly what I was going through. The downside was that I was so engaged in being there for my husband that I did not realize I was looking for, I hadn't purchased a fresh wig and I don't know. I was losing weight. I hadn't had a pedicure. I hadn't had those things that I was doing. So what it did for me is that my husband said, Patty, I need you to take care of yourself. So mine was an unconscious thing because I was so excited to be there for my husband. I catered to him. He was like, Patty, I could take out the trash. But he realized that that was something that I enjoyed doing for him. But like I said, on the downside, I started looking exactly what I was going through. And my husband probably said, you know, baby, I really want you to be here for me, but can you probably take a shower? You're giving me a lot of kissing and hugging, but can you take a shower? So the digitalization, again, like I said, it even for the digitalization part, it really allowed us with the music, it allowed us to watch movies together, it allowed us to spend additional time together, but you're so right with the gap. Now I'm having to, here we go, we're agreeing. Now I'm having to get back out here again because when I was with my husband, I was treating my business like a hobby.
Yeah.
Now that my husband is doing better, I have to get out here and treat my business like a business. And you do feel like you're so far behind with AI. AI is my best friend. I'm telling you all, I love it, love it, love it, love it. When it takes me 2 minutes to do a proposal, that it was taking me.
Yeah.
So there is, again, there has to be a balance, and that is my personal piece that we have to find the self-love and the self-care. Self-love and self-care is two different things. I'm not going to get off on that. But I had to start dealing with the self-care and the self-love in me in that process.
So I could step up as a speaker too. Speaking
is something that brings a lot out of you. But what I want to say is that talking about this digitalization, there's some C's that you always have to have in anything you do. Communication, compassion, collaboration. That should never take away from anything you do. Just because there's technology, just because there are things that we can use technology for, there's some underlying factors that resonates with us. So as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, as a teacher, even during COVID, those things never go away. The technology, like I said earlier, is an enabler, is an enhancer. It's something that's there to hopefully give us more time. People can join on Zoom now, they don't have to fly all the way, so life goes on. But we have to remember that as women, we don't have those opportunities as our counterpart male. If you're in a home, you will realize that most of the time, if there will be any innovation, that it will be the boy child that will be more open to that. So our conversations, our communications need to start in a way that we know that technology is here. It is here to stay. It's here to enhance our lives. But as women, it should never take away the communication. It should never take away that care, that collaboration, and all those great things that makes us human, right? Because we're human before the technology. Who created the technology? Human beings. So to me, I believe that what we need to understand is the ability to know that this technology is going to enhance our lives. So we still need to bring our ingenuity in those areas of C's that I mentioned. So those are my takeaways and points for that.
How do we follow that? So I'm going to say this. I'm going to go back to what you spoke when you mentioned that there was a lot of division, a lot of solemnness in the home, right? People were lonely. They realized, listen, I've been living with you for 10, 20, 30 years, but I don't know you. And then they recognized, guess what? I'm looking at the man or the woman in the mirror, and who are you? So then we got to a place where we said, well, what do you see when you see me, right? Because now we entered into this digitization and this social media overload and abundance, where now we're in the face of the world, but when we're beyond the closed doors, what's happening now? That's where we had to get real with who we were, whose we were, why we were. Who are we showing up as in our community, in our home environments, with our neighbors? Half of us don't even know our neighbor's name. What happened to that? And so, although we did see a lot of the abuse, physical abuse among women, what about the numbers that raised in the suicide among men and children? Yeah, that part. We are obligated as a society to remember ourselves. And so I came up with a saying that says, I'm learning to love me more. It doesn't mean that I love you less. When we begin to love ourselves, and only then can we truly love others. And so I think what we found ourselves in that gap came to a point where we realized I wasn't taking care of me. I wasn't doing best by me.
Taking a bath.
I'm expecting you to do for me what I should be doing for myself. And I had to wake up and realize I have 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 legs that are functionable. What am I doing with that part to ensure my own equality, to ensure that I'm good, mind, body, and spirit? So I love the organization that I work for, African Women Health Project International. I have to give a shout out because our leader, Princess Maradi and Her Royal Highness, truly believes in that gender equality for everyone. I love the fact that I get to rise up every day next to my amazing king, His Excellency Richard Serrano. Woo! And I get to work with him on a day-to-day basis. Yes, you can give it up for my king. Because guess what? We are here to first love ourselves and then allow that love to spill over into the hearts and minds of other people. We have to love ourselves. So if you're not clear, I just want to encourage you. Get clear on the man or woman in the mirror. Because who you are and how you show up is the legacy that you're going to leave in the earth. And no AI can top you, boo.
Thank you so much.